On this edition of Independent Sources, Zika Alert. Newly diagnosed cases amongst pregnant women in New York put the health department on the offensive. And Brooklyn Biennial, celebrating the borough's racial and cultural diversity through art.
Independent Sources, your window to the city's ethnic and immigrant communities. Here's your host, Garry Pierre-Pierre.
The Department of Health and Mental Hygiene is asking doctors and their clients to remain vigilant of the Zika virus since the recent announcement that 4 babies in the city were born with Zika-related birth defects. Those 4 take the total number of such reported births to 5 since earlier this year. The DOH is asking New Yorkers to be particularly careful if they've traveled to areas with reported cases of the virus. They've also issued warnings to practice safe sex as it was discovered the virus can be transmitted through seminal fluid. With me in studio to talk more about the virus and the health department's efforts to combat the disease is Dr. Neil Vora, the Director of Special Projects in the Health Department's Division of Disease Control. Thanks for coming in, Dr. Vora.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. So the World Health Organization has downgraded the Zika virus from an international public health emergency to a crisis. Is this making some people less vigilant, do you think?
A lot of different considerations go into the World Health Organization's announcement, and I wasn't entirely involved. But I think to answer your question, it helps to start with what is Zika virus?
Of course, that was my next question, but let's go right there.
So Zika virus was discovered over 60 years ago in a part of Central Africa, and it was discovered in a monkey. Between 1947, when it was discovered, and 2007, there were less than 20 reported human cases of Zika. And then in 2007, the first ever reported outbreak of Zika virus occurred in an island called Yap in the Pacific Ocean. And in that outbreak, over 70% of the population is estimated to have become infected. So Zika virus since then has now been discovered in the Western Hemisphere, initially in Brazil, and then it has since spread across South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. And there are over 40 countries currently that have reported outbreaks of
including
Zika.
Here in Florida. I mean, Florida had a serious emergency where they had to basically set a Zika virus zone.
You're bringing up a very important point and really underscores that a health threat anywhere is a health threat everywhere. And so even though there might be an outbreak somewhere else outside of the United States borders, here in the United States, particularly in New York City, we could still potentially be at risk because people travel to and from these different areas. And in the case of Zika virus, it's primarily transmitted through the bite of a mosquito that's infected with the virus, but it can also be transmitted sexually. And therefore, here in New York City, people are at risk, even if our mosquitoes do not have Zika virus, which they do not in New York City.
So explain it to us. How is it a sexually transmitted disease?
So a number of different infectious diseases, such as Zika virus, can be found in various parts of the body when a person becomes infected. And in the case of Zika virus, it can also go to the testes in the case of males. And as a result of that, in some scenarios, it can actually be found in the semen for many months after a person gets better from the illness. And so at this point, we have now documented multiple cases of Zika virus transmission from men to women, but also from women to men, and from men to men, and potentially from women to women. Mm-hmm. And so the question you're asking is a very important one, and really is an important point for New Yorkers, because even if New Yorkers are not traveling to parts of the world where mosquitoes are transmitting this virus, New Yorkers can potentially be at risk through sexual transmission. And that's why we have very strong recommendations about how to keep safe from Zika virus that could be spread through sex, and that's primarily through the use of barrier methods such as condoms.
Okay. So explain to us the incubation period. Okay, what happens? You get bit by a mosquito, and then how long does it take? And then what are the symptoms? How do you know when you have Zika?
The most important mode of transmission for this virus is through the bite of an infected mosquito. Not every mosquito can transmit this virus. So in the outbreak areas of the world, like South America, Central America, and the Caribbean, is being transmitted through a mosquito that we actually do not have here in New York City. But we do have a related mosquito here in New York City, and that's why we have to be very vigilant and looking at our mosquitoes to make sure that our mosquito population doesn't have it. But another mode of transmission is through sexual transmission. Now, once a person is infected with the virus, the incubation period, meaning the time between being exposed to the virus to actually showing symptoms, can be around 14 days or less. 4 out of 5 people who have the infection will actually not even show symptoms, meaning that they will not even know they are infected with the virus. 1 out of 5 people will actually show symptoms, but when people show symptoms of Zika virus infection, it tends to be very mild, like fever, joint pains, red eyes, or rash. And so in most people, in the vast, vast majority of people, it's not a life-threatening illness. But the population we are most worried about are pregnant patients. Because while most people have very mild illness or no illness at all, in pregnant patients, the virus can be transmitted from the pregnant woman to the developing fetus. And in the developing fetus, the virus can cause very severe birth defects such as microcephaly, which is a small brain, and a number of other birth defects.
Okay. So let's look at the numbers. For instance, we have here 325 pregnant women have been tested positive for the virus in the city. 92 have confirmed Zika infection of their infant. Is there a concern that all the children born to these women will have the virus? Is the city on the verge of a crisis? Don't want to be alarmist, but these are large numbers.
The numbers you're bringing up really underscore the importance of New Yorkers, of making sure that New Yorkers have the information so that they stay safe. Now, I want to emphasize that here in New York City, the health department has been doing many different aspects of a response to control Zika in the city.
Okay, give us some of the things that you guys are doing.
Well, one of the most important things is educating the public and medical providers throughout the city so that people have the information they need to take care of themselves and to take care of patients in the case of medical providers. New York City Health Department has many, many years of experience with mosquito control because we've been doing this since 1999 for West Nile virus, which is another virus that is transmitted through mosquitoes here in New York City. Now, it's a different type of mosquito that transmits West Nile virus, but we adapted those control measures for West Nile virus to the current Zika situation. We are trapping mosquitoes around the city. We even test them for Zika virus, and no mosquitoes in New York City have been found to have this virus. And we also have been doing extensive laboratory testing. We were one of the first laboratories in the country to be able to test humans for Zika virus. And we've been doing this for nearly a year now. We've tested over 8,000 New Yorkers for Zika virus. And we continue to offer this testing in addition to a variety of other commercial laboratories who can also do testing. So through a variety of different aspects, we've been combating the Zika virus epidemic here in New York City. But I want to emphasize again that the cases that we have had in New York City have all occurred among people who had traveled somewhere else in the world and then came back to New York City. No one in New York City has acquired the infection in New York City because of a mosquito bite that occurred in New York City.
Now, earlier you were talking about the birth defects that it's caused by the microcephaly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so can you tell us more about that? Because I think at the core of it, this is the most alarming part for a lot of people, that, you know, the effects on unborn children.
One of the challenging things with this situation has been that before this large outbreak across South America, the Caribbean, and Central America, not a lot was known about this virus. And in the course of this outbreak, because of hard work by a number of different scientists and various communities in the affected areas, we've been generating a lot of data. And as we review these data, we learn more about this virus. And so one of the more concerning outcomes of this outbreak has been the discovery that in pregnant patients who are infected with the virus can go to the developing fetus and cause birth defects such as microcephaly. Microcephaly means a small head and a small brain. But that's not the only birth defect that this virus can cause. It can also cause problems with the eyes and other potential complications, including death of the fetus. And so for these reasons, we need to continue to support the population so that they have the information that they need to stay safe. And I want to emphasize that we have a recommendation in New York City that if you are a pregnant woman or you are planning on getting pregnant in the near future, that you avoid travel to areas of the world where there is Zika virus transmission. And for that information about where is Zika virus spreading, I recommend that the audience goes to the CDC website. They have a very nice map about parts of the world where this virus can be found. And with that information, they can then make decisions about whether they should travel or not, because we're hitting the holiday season.
We're due for our first break right now. Stay tuned. We'll have more with Dr. Neil Vora in just a moment. Welcome back. I'm speaking with the Health Department's Director of Special Projects from their Division of Disease Control, Dr. Neil Vora. So, Dr. Vora, how do you treat this virus?
Once a person becomes infected with the virus, as I was saying before, most people will not even know they have the infection. But in that small proportion who have symptoms, the treatment really focuses on controlling the symptoms. So that might mean bed rest and taking enough fluid so that they stay hydrated. There is no vaccine to prevent this virus, even though a number of different studies are ongoing right now. But I want to emphasize that while we don't have a specific treatment or a specific vaccine, we do know how to prevent infection. So first and foremost, if you are a pregnant woman or planning on getting pregnant, we recommend that you avoid travel to areas of the world where this virus is spreading.
But, okay, being in New York City, I'm from Haiti, people are from Dominican Republic, from all over the world. You go back to visit families, and a lot of these places are places where the virus is present. So is that, doable? Can you say that people don't go home?
I think it's a really important point. And so some people, even if they're pregnant or they're planning on getting pregnant soon, they can't avoid travel at all. And in those cases, we have very clear recommendations on how to still try to avoid getting infected. So that means so first of all, it means avoiding mosquito bites, because mosquitoes are the main way through which this is spread. So to avoid mosquito bites, people can use insect repellent on the skin. It's very important that people buy insect repellents that are registered with the Environmental Protection Agency and use it according to the instructions on that bottle. People can wear long sleeves and long pants. Now, I know it's hard when traveling to some of these areas. I myself was in the Dominican Republic recently for Zika work, but I made a very conscious effort to wear long sleeves and long pants and to use insect repellent so that I could avoid getting mosquito bites. Another very important way of preventing infection is ways to prevent infection through sex. Now, we know that this virus can be transmitted through sex. And so when people are traveling to areas in the world where there is active Zika virus transmission, they should consider using condoms as a barrier method to avoid getting exposed. When they come back here to New York City, there's a period of time that we recommend, depending on if you're a man or a woman, after your return, that people either abstain from sex or continue to use condoms for a certain duration of time.
How long?
So for men, if a man was in an area with active Zika virus transmission and comes back here to New York City and is considering having relationships with another New Yorker, for example, the recommendation is that the man wait 6 months, so either abstain for 6 months or use a condom for 6 months.
Abstain for 6 months?
Or use a condom for 6 months. For women, so if a woman was the one who traveled to a Zika-affected area and now is back in New York City, the recommendation is that she either abstain from sex for 8 weeks or use a barrier method such as condoms for 8 weeks. And so these are just some recommendations, but it also really, a very important part of this is doing your homework before you travel. The New York City Health Department website and the CDC has a lot of information on the websites about how to prevent Zika virus transmission. So do your homework before you go travel, because sometimes we can't avoid it and we have to travel. And by taking the right steps, one can reduce the chances of getting sick.
Now, you just mentioned you went to the Dominican Republic to work on Zika, and the virus is ubiquitous in Central and South America and the Caribbean. What countries are doing the better jobs, and what are you learning and that you can implement here in New York City?
So there are many countries that are impacted by this virus right now across South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. And each of these different countries are in a different state of their response, because the epidemic is different in each country and circumstances are different in each country. So I can't really comment on the specifics for each country, but what I would say is that there is a lot of progress being made as we learn more about this virus. We know how to better protect ourselves, what steps we need to take, and we have to continue to do good science and let the data drive our response so that people abroad can stay safe, and also we can keep New York City free of this virus. Right now, we do not have this virus in New York City mosquitoes, and we want to keep it that way.
So is it largely a virus that's being brought over by immigrants? How is it primarily being spread in New York City?
We have had over 900 cases of Zika in New York City. All of these cases have occurred among people who traveled somewhere and then came back to New York City. And so we do not have our local New York City mosquitoes becoming infected and transmitting the virus, which is very good news. But at the same time, whenever anyone travels, regardless of anyone's race or ethnicity, we are all at equal risk for getting Zika virus because mosquitoes don't discriminate. And the important thing is that we provide all New Yorkers with the information they need so that everyone has an opportunity to stay safe, avoiding mosquito bites, avoiding exposure through sex. And we really want to emphasize the importance of making sure that pregnant women have the information they need to stay safe.
The mosquitoes here in New York, how can local mosquitoes develop the virus in the system?
So there are many different types of mosquitoes. Not all mosquitoes are the same.
They're not all created equal.
They're not all created equally. And some mosquitoes can transmit certain viruses and others can transmit other viruses. The mosquito that's transmitting this virus primarily right now in other parts of the world is this mosquito that we actually do not have here in New York City. But we do have a closely related mosquito in New York City. And that's why the New York City Health Department has been trapping mosquitoes all around the city and testing them for this virus, and none of them have this virus. But it's theoretically possible that if a person were to have the infection with Zika virus and one of these special types of mosquitoes were to bite that person and then shortly after that bite another person, that the mosquito could transmit the virus. And that's why we also recommend that if you have traveled to an area where there's Zika and you come back to New York City, that you, for 3 weeks after you return, you consider using insect repellent and that you wear long sleeves and long pants.
Even after you come back here?
Even after you come back, so that we can avoid infecting mosquitoes here in New York City.
Okay.
Right now, we are outside of the mosquito season in New York City.
So we can infect the mosquitoes. If I have it and the mosquito bites me, and then that mosquito can carry the Zika virus.
That's correct, because the virus for a short period of time it can be found in the blood of the human.
Okay.
And mosquitoes will feed on the blood, and so when they feed on the blood, they can pick up the virus and potentially give it to someone else. So that's why here in New York City, we actually have a very robust mosquito control program, and we have a website dedicated to mosquito control. Some of your audience might have seen the advertisement we were doing about reporting standing water, because mosquitoes can breed in small amounts of water. The mosquito that can transmit this virus can actually breed in a volume of water that is so small that if you overturn the cap on a bottle and you fill that with water, the mosquito can breed in that small a volume of water. So people who have standing water around their home should try to get rid of that water. And you can always call 311 to report standing water.
Good. So one final question I want to discuss is how likely is it that a woman can pass this virus on to her child?
This virus, when it's infected a pregnant woman, can potentially be transmitted to the developing fetus at any stage during the pregnancy, as far as we know. We feel, for a variety of reasons, that the greatest risk of harming the fetus might be in the earlier parts of the pregnancy, so particularly in the first trimester. But really, our concern is for the duration of the woman's pregnancy. And the New York City Health Department, every time we hear about a pregnant woman in New York City who's infected with the virus, we actually monitor this patient for the full duration of the pregnancy and beyond that, because we want to make sure that we're working with the doctor and the whole medical team so that they have the resources to take care of this patient correctly. We are very, very committed to making sure that all New Yorkers have the right resources to stay safe, but if they do get infected, that we make sure that we do what we can so that people have the resources to respond.
So what's in place to help the mothers whose child is born with microcephaly? I'm sorry,
Microcephaly.
Yes.
So we do extensive testing across the city if people have reasons to be tested. And when we find out if you're pregnant and you're infected, we start to monitor the health status of this pregnant woman for the duration of the pregnancy so that we can give the proper advice to the doctor. After that, once the baby is born, we don't stop monitoring at that point. We continue to monitor the baby at that point. Unfortunately, in New York City, there have now been 5 children born with what is called congenital Zika syndrome, meaning they have evidence of the impacts of the infection that was acquired during the pregnancy. And so if a child is born with a BRIC defect like that, the New York City Health Department has a program called the Early Interventions Program, which at no cost can monitor people with, can monitor these children and provide resources for these young children for a duration of time. And so there's a variety of different possibilities to help these pregnant women when they're infected and afterwards. And there's more information available through our website.
Very informative conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to Dr. Neil Vora for being in studio with me today. When we come back, celebrating Brooklyn's racial and cultural diversity. Finally from us, the Brooklyn Information and Culture, or BRIC Biennial, is an exhibition that provides space for Brooklyn artists to show their work and to reflect on society. BRIC reflects the diversity of New York City by focusing on artists that deal with race and ethnicity. Producer Marissa Holmes takes a look inside the latest exhibition.
The BRIC Biennial, Volume 2, Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights Edition, showcases artists of all disciplines and is the organization's largest show to date. From Brick House to Weeksville Heritage Center to 5 Miles, the best of Brooklyn is on view.
BRIC Biennial is actually an exhibition concept that I thought about even before we moved into Brick House. I wanted to do a big exhibition that would really be about Brooklyn artists. This is the biggest exhibition of the show. It's by Sol Sachs. He got all these used pairs of blue jeans, and they've been stuffed and wrapped, and they're covered in recording tape and red tape, and then simply the symbol of having it, really be a pillar. People are the people, families, communities. Those are pillars of society, pillars of our history. The works in this corner are by Sarah Jimenez. Her family is originally from the Philippines, and she often brings both kind of family history and cultural history into the work. So she's dealing with this kind of difficult history, the idea of a colonialist history, and kind of suppressing it, but also kind of excavating it and looking at it and thinking about what it means. This is by Brandon Coley Cox, and it's kind of a new reading of Blackness and creative construction, out of Blackness itself. We need to keep having these conversations about things that are important to us and about things that really are not completely resolved in society. So again, race and our relations to others, people that we are alike or people that we're different from. So I think that that's one of the things that art can do. It can illuminate these ideas that artists have and be the springboard for conversations that we should be having. Mm-hmm. And so I hope that people approach the exhibition in that way.
At Weeksville Heritage Center, Bed-Stuy artist Chloe Bass reads a text from her latest work, The Book of Everyday Instruction, Chapter 5, Protect and Preserve.
I'm an artist who works responsibly. Often this comes to mean that I make my work through conversations. In St. Louis, I had the opportunity to speak with 22 strangers. I asked if we could meet in a space that was safe for you. Can you tell me where we are and why you picked this place? What is safety to you? What is safety to St. Louis? If you could write a letter to anybody else about safety right now, who would you write to, and what would you say? Finish the sentence. Safety is. One thing that came up over and over again during my conversations was the weary heaviness of ongoing trauma. Danielle, in this photograph, talked to me very openly about this. She told me, as far as St. Louis, I don't know if people realize how much mental trauma we've been going through lately for years, for decades, for generations. Even just talking and listening to stories from my grandparents, my great-grandparents, they don't want to talk about the past. But I love stories. When I read a story about my people and it's really traumatic, it breaks my soul.
At 5 Miles and Crown Heights, performance duo Hot Hands takes audience members from city streets to outer space in their work Prism, Mirror, Lens.
Cities have the capability of providing something for everybody, only because and only when they are created by everybody. For what is the city but the people? Excellence, future, utopia, hope, place, stability, coexistence, love, share, body, space, home, excellence, future, lens.
The BRIC Biennial exhibition is open until January 15, 2017. You can learn more at bricartsmedia.org. That's our show this week. Thanks for staying tuned. Till next time, be independent-minded.